Hi and welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sewjo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. Now today is September 3rd, 2023, and this is my weekly update, number 31. Now, let me tell you, it's been a rough week, but before we get into all of that, let's talk about the quilt behind me. This is a quilt that I finished several years ago. I remember buying this 2.5-inch strip pack at a shop hop over in Indiana where I went with my mom and two cousins. So we used 2.5-inch strips to make this. This is an all batik quilt, and then we'll go in, take a closer look at the quilting, which I used a Cloudy Day pantograph. So there is a look at the quilting and all of those batiks. And of course, it has those blue shades of aqua and teal blue colors all throughout it. All right, I'll flip it over so you can see the back. And there is the batik that was used for the backing. And my quilt label right down there in the corner, which this was completed in 2019. So, what did I quilt this week? Well, I did manage to get one thing quilted. I was going to do two, but it didn't happen. So, I quilted my gnomes. It was my June gnomes that were a watermelon theme. So, let me hang it up and I'll show you what it looks like. So, this is what I quilted on the long arm. Now, it was quilted in the sun scallop pantograph. And I chose the sun because since this was watermelon things, and it's a June, so it's summer. Well, the sun helps the watermelon grow, so that's why I chose the sun pantograph. Now, I was also going to quilt July gnomes when I was there, but it didn't happen, but that's okay. So let's go in, take a closer look at it. Okay, so there's the top of the quilt, and we're going to go down a little bit, and you can start to see those suns that was quilted on it as we go down. And right there, you can see those suns that went throughout that quilt. And let me pull it over and you can see the back. And again, there are those suns. So what else did I do? Well, yesterday I did some more shop hopping, which means I now finished all of this area too. So I have 4 regions all completed, and that brings me up to 56 quilt shops. I only have 4 left up here to get, which I plan on doing next week. So we'll see how that goes. Now, I'll give you a look at my passport. There it goes, it's filling up. Now, I know it shows 5 more places over here, but last Sunday when I went with my mom and cousins, we had stopped at this place. So nice. It was supposed to have been open according to the book, but apparently it was a mistaken book and they were closed. However, we contacted them this week and they still sent us our stamps and patches through the mail. So, which my cousin has, I just have to get it from her. So I can go ahead and put my stamp on there, which means I still only have those 4 to go. So after next week, I should have all 60. Now this does go through the end of September. So there's that. So what else have I worked on in piecing? Well, let me show you. I worked on some of these sew sampler projects. Well, another sew sampler project. I worked on this Summit quilt pattern. Now, I had trimmed, I think last week I showed you that I had made these hourglass units. Well, I had trimmed them all down and cut these half square triangles and trimmed them all down. And my trimming tool of choice is the clearly slotted Perfect trimmers is what I used. So I trimmed all of these down and then I've got them pinned together to make this 9-patch unit. So as you can see, the back of them are all pinned together. There. And there. So that's something what they'll look like when they're all done. So I worked on that this week. And I did that to all of them. So there's the stack that I got going on with all of those pinned and ready to sew. And then I worked some more on this pattern, this double take. Now these half square triangles have already been sewn a while ago, so those are all ready to go. Now I had finished making these tiny 4-patch units last week, and now I have them pinned ready to go into what will be these bigger 4-patch units. So there they are. And I've got that whole stack ready to go. And then after I sew those, I can start putting it together into the center of that quilt top. And let's pull these out. And these were these previous half square triangles I had made that will go around these. So we'll have that black and pink quilt. So I worked on that. And what else did I work on? Now, the next 2 things I worked on, I only did the sewing. I haven't done the pressing and the pinning for the next steps yet. But, let me pull it out. And I worked on this pattern. Now, these are the same fabrics in here that I'm using. I did have to substitute one fabric, but that's okay. Now, what I did here was, this is set on point, so I had sewn all of these in rows. So I still have to press those and then pin them together to make the center of that quilt top. So I've got so many rows. We have sashing rows. And all of these rows that are coming together here. More sashing rows. And some more of these rows. And it just keeps going on. I won't bring all of those rows out. But I do have them all stacked up, ready to go to press and start pinning it together so I can have a center of a quilt top done the next time I sew. Then, what else I worked on was this quilt here. And this was this Country Roads pattern. Now, this was a pattern that I had got when I went to another shop hop over in Indiana earlier in the year. So, I'm making this quilt with it. Now, I had already shown you this previous quilt top, the center of it, when I had the center all sewn. So, I've started adding borders. So, I added the side borders, which is going to be that and the other side border. So now I need to add the smaller border to the top and bottom, and then I've got a bigger border to go all around, which this is going to be the bigger border, and this will be the binding. But let me see if I can pull it out just a little bit more. I don't want to completely unfold it. So there's what it's looking like. Like I said, I still have to add the smaller border to the top and bottom. And then that will be the larger border. All right. So I have to press those side borders and pin that top and bottom border on. What else did I work on for piecing? Well, I worked on my August gnomes. So I have sewn the boy gnome, the girl gnome, and this first accent block. I still need to sew accent 2 and do a video and show that. But I did do a video showing the first 3. But we'll take a look at those. So here's the boy gnome. And with his little swim trunks on. I do think that skin tone is a little bit light to show up on the camera though. And here's the girl gnome with her bikini. And the accent 1. That's the accent 1 block. So I just need to do accent 2 and then sew them all together into a quilt top. So that's everything I've worked on as far as sewing and quilting this week. Now, let's move on to crochet. Or actually cross stitch. I'll do crochet in a minute. So, as you know, I've been working on this big Christmas band sampler. And last week I was down here at the mittens. And now, or no, I think I started working on the rocking horses last week. And that's still where I am, is working on the rocking horses. So this is a big project that I'm doing on 2 separate pieces because I'm doing this on 16 count. And it's just way too big for one piece. So as always, I'll show you what the first piece looked like. That was completely done. Get it all the way down there to the bells. And the second piece, which is what I'm working on, here you go. Now, I did only do part of that rocking horse before I came over here and started working on the other, because that is where the end of my page stopped. So for the whole project, I have 8 different pages that I'm working on. So 4 for that first one and 4 for this one. So I just decided to finish that whole page by finishing this. And now I'm going to go back and start working on the rest of this rocking horse and then this rocking horse because it's a brand new page. So, that's my big cross stitch piece. It'll be done sometime. So, what else did I work on? Well, I worked on crochet. I am still working on that big shawl that I am using the yarn from that cardigan I made where I was trying to use the rest of the yarn. So I'm still working on that. And this is the rest of the yarn I still have to go. I was working on another hank that I had put into a ball last week, and then I still had that second ball. Well, this is the second ball, so this is all I've got left. So however big this shawl is going to be is however long that yarn takes me. But here we are. We're still working on it, just trying to use up that rest of that yarn. There we go. This was just a pattern that I got from a tutorial from Bag O' Day Crochet, and it's just 5 granny rows, that granny stitch, and then 3 rows of double crochet. So, and when I'm done from this, my daughter wants me to work on another amigurumi project. So she picked out this little kit I had. So when I'm done with that, I'm going to be working on this bees. So that's my plan. So that's everything that I've worked on this week. Now, I said at the beginning, it's been a little rough of a week, and it has. I'm going to tell you all about it, but I saved it for the end just in case I start ugly crying. And if you're just interested in knowing what I made, there you go, and you can turn the video off. But if you want to know what's going on, let me tell you. So, a couple weeks ago, my husband unexpectedly had his hours cut at work. So what does that mean? Well, that means I've canceled most of my subscriptions. I'm still getting my Sew Sampler, and I'm still going to get the gnomes because I've only got 3 months left. So we'll see how that goes. So it's going to be fine, but it's just having to juggle things down to live within our means. The shop hopping, I still plan on doing the shop hop, but it means I can't really buy so much. Yeah, because, you know, if you've been watching my channel since July, I've kind of been crazy on stuff I bought. So we've had to calm that down. Now, with that being said, last weekend, we noticed our dog was limping on a leg. But it was just kind of intermittent. It wasn't all the time. But of course, we checked the leg out. We were moving her joint. She was letting us move it. She didn't appear to be in pain. So we're like, okay, maybe she just sprained it. We don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of arthritis setting in. We don't know. My dog is an Irish Wolfhound, which is considered the tallest breed of dogs. She's around 130 pounds. So we're just, okay, well, let's see what happens. Well, then the next day she'd be walking on it fine. Well, then one day she wouldn't put weight on it. I'm like, okay. So we were really starting to get concerned. But then the next hour she was walking on it. And again, we have been all up and down her leg checking it. She doesn't appear that she's in pain when we're moving it and pressing on it. We're not seeing any abnormalities. So it's also that time of year for her to go to her yearly vet and get her shots, which we do beginning of September. So I make an appointment, and she actually has an appointment on Wednesday for her regular vet. Well, Friday, we were still checking out this leg because we don't know of any injury to this leg. So we were checking her leg, and we noticed it was really swollen, like 3 times the size of her other leg. So we're like, oh, well, by then it's Friday evening. Their regular vet's closed. There's not necessarily an emergency vet around us because I'm like, okay, has she got some infection going on, or did she break her leg that we didn't know about somehow? We don't know. So we ended up taking her to an emergency vet an hour away. Well, after a $1,000 vet bill, we've discovered my dog has a very aggressive bone cancer. So, yeah. So most likely osteosarcoma. So they do recommend having her leg amputated, but she is, like I said, a giant breed dog. And even with having that leg amputated, her survival rate is not very much, a couple months. We also let him do some blood work, and her liver is affected. So it's probably most likely already spread. So we're having to make those hard decisions this weekend with that dog. So I know, it is a dog, but it's still one of our family. And it's been a rough weekend. So we're just we have another vet appointment on Wednesday for our vet, not the emergency vet, which I will say the emergency vet was extremely nice. And I think she was fighting back tears the whole time she was telling us this, because we really didn't expect this. We thought either maybe she has an infection because she was running a fever, or she had somehow had an injury to that leg that we weren't aware of. So as of right now, they gave her some pain meds, and even today she was out chasing my husband, running on it just fine on the lawnmower. But it is a very aggressive cancer. So we have made the decision to for now give her pain medicine and just let it go. Just see where it progresses, and as her quality of life starts to decrease, we're going to have to make that optimal decision not to have her suffer. But as of right now, we're just treating her with pain meds. chemotherapy and the surgery, which would be thousands, if not $10,000s of dollars, really isn't going to prolong her life. So it's been a rough week. We really wasn't expecting that $1,000 vet bill after my husband had his hours cut. But, you know, we'll get through it. It's just part of life's trials and tribulations that's just kind of sucked this week. So that's where we are. All right. Till next time. Bye.